Hello, kids. Here we have today The Little Old Lady Who Couldn't Fall Asleep by Yaffa Ganz. It seems like a very nice story. Let's take a look at it. The Little Old Lady Who Couldn't Fall Asleep. Once upon a time, there was a little old lady who couldn't fall asleep. Each night, when the day was over, she said Shema Yisrael and lay down on her nice, comfortable bed. She tucked her soft, warm blanket under her chin, turned off the light, and waited patiently to fall asleep. Sometimes, while she was waiting, she would think happy thoughts, count sheep, and plan what to do the next morning. Here are the words so you can read it. You can learn to read it. After a while, she would get up to take a drink of water and a breath of fresh air. Then she'd straighten her blanket and climb back into bed. And there she'd lie, as wide awake as she could possibly be. Here are the words. You can learn this. Night after night, she yawned and sighed and stretched. She turned first to one side and then to another. She fluffed her pillows. She fluffed her pillow and flipped her blanket. She moved this way and that, but she could not fall asleep. Okay. So what's the story? Why can't you fall asleep? Tisk, tisk, said her friends. You should see a doctor. I don't think so, she answered. But we do, they answered. But we do, they insisted. So, one day, she did. Dr. Klugkop examined her carefully. He looked into her ears, he looked into her eyes, he listened to her heart, and told her to breathe deeply. He took her pulse, and measured her blood pressure, and had her jump up and down 27 times. He said, maybe you need some vitamins, a special diet, some exercise. So, every morning, as soon as she had davened, she swallowed her 3 big vitamin pills and ate a fat slice of cantaloupe. She went to an early morning dance class and played tennis in the afternoon and did push-ups every night. But she still couldn't fall asleep. Perhaps some quiet, restful music would help, suggested the grocer. I don't think so, but I'll try, she said, wearily. She did try, but it didn't help. Pull the shades down, said her neighbor. It's probably too light in your room. Pull them up, said another neighbor. You need more fresh air. Take some sleeping syrup, said the mailman. Drink some warm milk and honey, said the butcher. Meanwhile, even though she was getting tireder and tireder all the time, the little old lady could still not fall asleep. She was getting tireder and tireder, and she still could not fall asleep. Finally, Dr. Klugkop decided to call a conference. 3 important-looking doctors sat with Dr. Klugkop in a circle and looked at the poor, tired lady. "What do you do when you want to sleep?" asked the first doctor. "I go into my room and turn on the light." "And then," questioned the second doctor, "I put on my pajamas and say Shema." "And then," asked the third doctor, "I close the light and lie down and start to fall asleep until..." "Until what?" asked the 3 doctors all at once. "Uncle Moshe and Miriam and Judy and Shimmy and Tamar and Betsy begin," whispered the little old lady with a long sigh. "Begin what?" asked the first doctor. "Begin who?" questioned the second doctor. "Begin how and where and when?" asked the third doctor. "Could you repeat that, please?" asked Dr. Klugkop, pencil in his hand. What's going to be? What's going to be with the little old lady that she's tired and she can't get to sleep? "Well, you see, it's this way," she said. "Moshe and Miriam and Judy and Shimmy and Tamar and Betsy live downstairs from me. And every time I lie down, just as I'm about to fall into a nice, deep sleep, they begin to play. They jump and they bounce and they roll and they ride and they run and they slide and they skate and make such a rumpus that by the time they go to sleep, I'm wide awake. And no matter what I do, I cannot fall asleep anymore." Now that's a dilemma. A very hard dilemma. "Did you say they live downstairs from you?" asked Dr. Klugkop. "Yes," answered the little old lady, "downstairs. But the sounds of their games float right upstairs and fill my house from one end to the other. They are rather nice sounds sometimes when they laugh and sing, but when they jump and bounce and roll and ride while I am trying to go to sleep..." The little old lady slumped lower into her chair and barely managed to cover a wide yawn with her tired hand. Said the first doctor. "A most unusual case." "I see," said the second doctor. "Highly irregular." My, said the third doctor. "Extremely uncommon. You can see that this calls for our immediate attention," said Dr. Klugkop, as he rushed to put a pillow behind the little old lady's nodding head. "Yes, indeed, it does," agreed the first 2 doctors. "But what shall we do then?" asked the third. "I think," said Dr. Klugkop, "that we should call the Rav." They're going to call the Rav to see what he says to do. Let's see. The Rav listened very carefully to everything Dr. Klugkop told him. Then he took a deep breath. This, he said, is a job. Excuse me. It's for kids. This, he said, is a job for the Rebbitzin, the rabbi's wife, the Rebbitzin. This is a very special job. We need the Rebbitzin for this. The Rebbitzin stood very still while the Rav spoke to her. Then she closed her eyes and thought. When she finished thinking, she whispered a few words to the Rav, who spoke to the doctors who were waiting anxiously on the phone. "Wonderful idea," shouted Dr. Klugkop at last. That's precisely what we shall do, and they did. That very day, Dr. Klugkop called another conference. This time, Maishi and Miriam and Judy and Shimmy and Tamar and Bensi were invited. The doctors came too, and the Rav, and of course, the Rebbitzin. The second conference began. That very night, the little old lady said Shema Yisrael, lay down on her nice, comfortable bed, tucked her soft, warm blanket under her chin, and turned off the light. She didn't put her shades up or down. She didn't take any vitamin pills or any sleeping syrup. She didn't breathe in deeply or do any push-ups. She stopped playing tennis, and she turned off her phonograph. She didn't even eat any cantaloupe, which she had never liked in the first place. But she did fall into a deep, quiet, wonderful sleep, and I bet you can guess why. You can look at that. The kids are quiet. They're being very nice. Good Midos traits are what we should have. Not too much this way and not too much that way. Just right. Where do we get good Midos? No store sells them. No one can give them away. We get them by looking and learning and practicing. In the Artscroll Midos books, we will learn about good Midos by watching those who do have them and saying, "This is how I want to be." And we will learn about good Midos by watching those who don't have them and saying, "Oh no, not me." Best of all, Artscroll Midos books are fun. The stories are fun. The pictures are fun. When we're finished reading our Midos books, we will be good and getting better, and that will be the most fun of all, because then Hashem will be proud of us. The little old lady who couldn't fall asleep. Once upon a time, there was a little old lady who couldn't fall asleep. Kids, this is our story here. She tried everything she could think of, but nothing helped. Not even Dr. Klugkop. Then she went to the Rav, who sent her to the Rebbitzin, warm, charming, and ever so funny. This book is an unusual way to learn about the mitzvah of loving your neighbor. The little old lady who couldn't fall asleep, by Yaffa, Ganz. Okay. Thank you very much, kids. See you soon.